Welcome, everyone. We've got the Transformers Studio Series Scavenger and Mixmaster. These are starting to show up in the US. This copy came from Amazon. This copy came from Canada, but I'm seeing posts online where people are finding this in stores in the US. So, depending on where you live, you might find this guy nearby. He's still not scheduled to ship from Amazon until either September or October. Can't quite remember. But hang in there. He should be released pretty soon, or you should be able to get him pretty soon. Also, this kind of completes the whole Constructicon thing, so I am super excited to finally have these. Another thing you'll notice is that, Scavenger is a deluxe, Mixmaster is a Voyager, mostly because of extra engineering. He's a foot, so they had to put more parts into him. And Scavenger actually is pretty light on the parts because, like, part of what he is came with a different set. So there's that. So you see the front of the packaging. Here's Scavenger, here's Mixmaster. Scavenger has the peg hook because he's a deluxe. They do say what their designation is. This is 4 out of 5. This is 5 out of 5. Nothing really great on that side. Here's Mixmaster's UPC. And Scavenger's is on the back. And then here is the back of the packaging for each. So let's go ahead and get these guys open. And here's Mixmaster in the package. He does come with a booklet and a little legal sheet. And here is Scavenger. You'll notice he's got a little baggie with him. So there's that. All right. And here they are out of the package, and you will need to do some assembly on each of them. So, Hook. Scavenger. I don't know why I call him Hook. Scavenger, we're going to need to put his scoop on. And it's just a peg. It doesn't actually snap. It seems like they want you to be able to use this in different ways. And of course, we need to give him his gun. He's kind of a chunky dude like Bone Crusher is. That's just the design they decided to use. And Mixmaster, there's a bunch of peg holes here, but he, for the most part, this thing's just going to slide into that slot. So I would not even pay attention to this. Just realize you're going to fill this space, and once you get it in there, it doesn't have any choice but to, go in. So there's that. And then let's give him his gun. And these guys are pretty nice. They're about the same size. Mixmaster seems a little bit bigger because of this this thing that he's got, as part of his design and how he was engineered from his original toy. But they're about the same size. It would have been nice maybe if we could have got some missiles for here, like the toy had, but the original toy, but that wasn't really a thing in the cartoon. Um, his arms do seem to be kind of long. They're in a reasonable scale, but this has got a lot to do with the truck mode. So as far as articulation, you got a lot of ball joint stuff going on, at least with Scavenger. So the shoulders are ball joint, the elbows are ball joint. Technically, the hand can go in and out, but that's transformation. You got a little bit of a gap here. The hips are ball joint. There is a thigh swivel. There is a knee bend that locks. There is inward foot articulation. Technically, the toes kind of do stuff, but that's just transformation. And no waist swivel. I would not expect it, and I don't really think they need to have waist swivel. They're not ninjas or anything. They're like they mostly are like worker grunts slash kind of engineers in their like normal job capacity. And then they form Devastator, and even Devastator is like not all that mobile, in the show. Like he kind of stands around and kicks things and shoots at things. But he doesn't do Spider-Man poses either. Mixmaster is a little bit different, I guess, because he's engineered to be sturdier. So he's got a disc hinge shoulder on a swivel. The head is on a ball joint, but it is sculpted in a way that there's not a lot of movement. Same thing with Scavenger. He's got a swivel elbow. Nothing for the hands. There is a upper bicep joint. The hips are disc hinge on a swivel. There is a thigh swivel cut. There is a swivel knee. The feet. Oh, didn't realize this. Okay, never mind. I thought the feet come out, but this has something to do with Devastator. That little thing that pops off there. The feet do have a inward tilt, and that is basically it. So they're going to do all the things that you need them to do as Constructicons. They, for the most part, have a G1 look to them, along with that little extra detail that is in all the, current line of Transformers. So they're kind of like a hybrid design. Even though these are, again, they're kind of like slotted into being like cartoon figures. So there's that. And now that we have all of the figures, we can kind of put them together, take a look at them, and look pretty good together, nice together. So let's take a look at vehicle mode. And that would be a good segue into their Devastator parts. All right, so normally I don't do this on camera, but these seem to have some pretty simple transformation going on here. So I think I can do this pretty quick. Maybe. Do have kind of an interesting design here. Yeah, there's figuring out the arm there was a little interesting, but you kind of can figure it out. Main thing is looking for where the tabs and the slots for the tabs need to line up at. Hmm. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. So, the chest is like this, and you're going to end up kind of bringing it forward and back again. Maybe that wasn't actually even needed. Okay. So this part was a little interesting. So you basically need to rotate what would have been the waist so you can get this slot, the opening of the slot to point this way. And it seems unintuitive that you'd have these here, but there is space for the legs to go around them. But you need that space here for this part to go in. And it just kind of locks in. So if you actually look at the directions, you'll know this is the correct way. But I just figured that out. All right. There's something weird about this section not going all the way in. Yeah, it's like the tolerance is a little weird on this part. But, basically this hinge kind of fills into this area. And I took this part off just to get at it a little bit better. But I had to kind of like flex this to make it fit in the slot a little bit better. So there is that. That definitely is Scavenger. That looks really good. I like that they added a little paint, and there's like some silver on these sides. All right. And Mixmaster, I think he's going to be a little bit simpler. That is interesting. All right. And there's definitely some similar engineering to Combiner Wars going on here. Okay. You kind of end up fighting with it a little bit, but the foot is like this, and you just need to make sure that you kind of form this ledge and then bend here at the knee and the hip, and then keep this flat part pointed forward. And then this will get into the place that it needs to get into. And then you're going to pull this out, bring this in, and there's barely enough clearance. It kind of doesn't seem like this is how it's supposed to end up, but this is how it ends up. um, so this little tab is going to go inside the hand here, and then this foot piece kind of goes there, and that is how the front is supposed to work. See if I can do this better now that I have figured that out. But this is the tricky part, getting that knee bent, because it wants to do this, and you need to kind of fight with it to get it here. And there is some tabs on the inside that need to click into this space. It is a big chunky click. All right. Yeah, looking at this, it's like, okay, this can't possibly be this way, but it is. And he does roll, but it is like, I don't know, like 5 millimeters of clearance on that wheel. But that is what they look like afterwards. You can put the guns on them for storage. And in the original toy, I think the main gun came with Mixmaster. You can put that on there if you want to. It's kind of ridiculous, but it'll work. Um, you could. There's lots of ports all over these figures, so you can just use your imagination and do all kinds of stuff here. So that's the vehicle mold. So let's work on Devastator mode. So we know what this is supposed to look like. So it shouldn't be too hard to get him back into this configuration. I do believe these... No, I don't think these come out. Looks like we need to basically do this. Okay, I was wrong about that. So I kind of got them back close to that vehicle mode. And basically, this is how you are achieving the effect. Let me make this one piece. So you're bringing this up and you're basically folding this upward, and that's it. So all that other stuff I was about to do was completely unnecessary. I'm not sure what the function of this is, other than maybe getting the foot attached to the thigh. So we're going to leave that alone for a moment. All right, so I think we're good on his mode. His mode should be pretty simple. This thing stops him tabbing. So basically need to get this out, and it's just going to swing forward, and that's pretty much it. This is going to end up connecting to something on the other bot. But I think that's all we need to do here. And then get that into position. And then this is our joint here that we are going to use. So we can get this guy to stand, we're going to do Mixmaster first. And yeah, this is pretty simple. This is just going to slide, whoops, on this this tab here. And it doesn't really lock or anything, so you just hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Does not snap in or anything. And then just bring this piece back up, and it just kind of tabs in. That's pretty much it. Don't know what's going on with Scrapper's setup right now. Okay. So there is that. And you already got this piece swiveled out, and you're just going to slide this in, and there's a couple things that are going to tab. So this part on Long Haul's forearm is going to tab into here, and then you've got these tabs on the chest shield that tab into here. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and probably not a good idea to have this shield on already. We're just going to kind of flex it into position. There we go. Go ahead and lift that up so I can get better leverage to tab this in. And these don't like tab in very tightly. They tab in kind of loose, so just they're kind of there just to help stabilize it. They're not really there to like, lock it in. So just kind of be aware of that too. And then maybe do this with the scoop, kind of bring it down a little bit. All right, that is it. Devastator is finally assembled. Um, I do kind of wonder if it had never been pointed out if it would be noticeable how the legs, the bottom legs, are kind of offset. Now that I know it's there, I look at it and like, oh, that's kind of weird. But he does have a very straight stance, and they're not touching each other, so that looks good. I'm sure there's going to be kits to do something about this if you want to, have these not offset. But I think this is fine. This is working right now. For the most part, he's sturdy. Seems like Scavenger is kind of not all the way connected here. I don't know what's going on with this. Here we go. This little tab needs to lock in there a little bit better, and he's a bit sturdier now. So that's nice. And then I do have an extra Constructicon just to kind of show off scale a little bit here. And then just got Megatron recently, and I think this is decent. The scale changes a lot in the cartoon. And he's usually a little bit like the head might be here. So, there's mass shifting. You can't make these things magically grow and magically shrink. I think this is a good scale. And if you were like really nitpicky, yeah, you could go get, Combiner Wars and you could have a, gigantic, Devastator. Or you could get like a little mini Megatron of some size. So that could be interesting. Like a legend scale Megatron to go with him. But I think for the most part, this scale works well. And the main thing is that that these guys kind of scale, and they kind of don't. They should be a little bit taller. I think they messed up a little bit. They made Optimus a little too big for some reason. They gave us a new Megatron, and it's like the rest of like the Earthrise and Studio Series, everything else seems like a little too small now. I don't know. So this is not a very G1 figure, but the scale's a little bit better. And take it an extra step. Let's put in our counterfeit New Age figure. And I don't know. Still feel like this whole thing is a little off now. But Earthrise Optimus. And then the Devastation Optimus. And I think this scales with Devastator better. And probably wouldn't look bad with him being held by Devastator, because this was a thing in the cartoon. I can make it work. Kinda. So, yeah. I mean, for the most part, I feel like this is a good figure, but the scale's a little weird. So I would not say don't get or finish getting Devastator. Definitely do that. But um, you know, just try not to dive too deep into the scaling of all these figures now because they're a little bit off. And overall, you got a lot of things that you're trying to compete with here. You know, you have the individual figures a certain size, have Devastator a certain size, changes with the studio series, you know, Optimus and Megatron scale. There's just a lot going on here. So stuff to think about. Let me know what you think. I'm very curious, and yeah, I'd really like to know. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. And as always, tune into more videos coming up. Thank you.